Love between humans is just not easy. And without great examples or education about emotions, communication, sex, and what keeps love alive, it's too easy to be disheartened, settle, or give up on what you want most. I believe you can have the love and intimacy you want. And having coached thousands of people on their love lives for over 20 years, I know what love can be for you. So I'm bringing you people who share vulnerably about their dating and relationship struggles and how they learn to create the most connected, fulfilling, and exciting love and sex of their lives, so you can have it too. If you haven't yet taken the quiz to see what keeps you from having the best love and sex of your life, go to shanajamescoaching.com/quiz. You'll get a personalized report of your strengths and challenges in the 5 crucial areas that lead to your most fulfilling and exciting love and sex life. Go to shanajamescoaching.com/quiz to find out. Hello and welcome to this episode of Practicing Love. I'm your host, Shana James, and I am excited to bring to you, I feel like this is a theme these days. I'm bringing people back from like 20 years ago and having these conversations that feel really important about relationships and love and how we can really understand each other and be connected. And Jamie Smart is a Sunday Times bestselling author, speaker, and coach. And we met through the Authentic Man program. We were trying to figure it out 15, maybe 20 years ago. And you've been out in the world teaching, I would say, in some profound ways. And you said something before we started recording. We had this whole long conversation that I loved. And you said the state of mind determines the state of relationship. So I'm excited to dive into what you see keeps relationships alive, keeps them from getting stale, allows for our humanity to be expressed fully instead of stilted, hidden, ashamed, all of these things. So I'm really excited to talk with you.
Yeah, well, and I'm excited to be here, Shana. It's great to see you. And yeah, that assertion that the state of mind of the people in the relationship is going to determine the state of the relationship, it just seems intuitively correct to me. And the thing that struck me as I was listening to you, you're asking, how do we keep things alive and fresh and that sort of thing?
Yeah.
And an interesting place to start might be to look at, well, what gets in the way of that?
Yes.
Because as I think about it, in any relationship, the person you're with or the people you're with, they're not the same person that they were yesterday.
Right.
And so there's a way in which the thing that would get in the way, the thing that would make it stale, would be relating to them as though they're the same person as they were yesterday. And I have a simple, maybe simplistic way of looking at it. And this will sound kind of binary, but if you've got 2 people in a relationship, just to keep it simple, each person can either be in a state of clarity, clear-minded, present to the moment, available to the other person, listening, seeing clearly, not caught up in the past or stress or whatever. So they can either be clear-minded or they can be caught up in whatever's going on for them. They can be preoccupied, stressed, whatever. So they're in one of those 2 places.
Which is a lot of the issues that people bring to me, right? I can't connect with my partner because there's all this stress and things in the way.
Yeah. So I see it in a simple kind of quadrant, which is if both people are in stress or bother or whatever, that's the zone of conflict. And so if you're both caught up and stressed, and the other thing is in relationships, if you're bothered, stressed, that sort of thing, it's likely that it'll seem like the other person is the cause of that.
Right.
So that's almost like an amplifier of conflict.
Okay.
Conversely, if you're both seeing clearly, then that's the zone of connection. Because you're available to the other person, you're seeing them afresh with new eyes. You're seeing them as they really are.
Yeah.
And funnily enough, when you first fall in love with someone, what often happens is you're both in that clear-headed zone. It's like I've never met anyone like this. Well, that's true, right? Like you're both really. There's nothing getting in the way, right?
Yes.
Now, here's the interesting thing. So you've got the zone of connection, the zone of conflict. If one partner has a clear mind and the other person is caught up, your heart goes out to them.
Yeah.
and vice versa. Can I tell a story?
Yeah. Wait. I just want to
Well,
say, okay, one person's caught up, the other person's not. Your heart goes out to them. Can you finish the zones and then go into the story? Because I just want to
it's the
map it
same
out.
the other way around.
Oh,
If you've got Dick and Jane,
yes.
Jane's seeing clearly and available to the moment, but Dick has his head up his ass. He's
Right.
basically losing it. Jane's
Then
like,
she's gonna have compassion. Okay.
she'll naturally be like,
Yeah.
"Oh, he's suffering,
Yep.
poor baby," and vice versa,
Yes.
right?
That's the zone of
That's the zone of
conflict and
conflict.
the kind of downward spiral that many people get
Yeah.
into. Okay.
So I'll
Tell
give
us
you
your
an
story.
example. It's 2012, so like 14 years ago,
Yeah.
and my then girlfriend and I went to Hawaii for like a 3 week vacation in Maui.
Nice.
And she was from the UK. Not many people from the UK go to Hawaii. So this was like a dream vacation. We land there at night. Uh, and we pick up our rental car and we're driving down the West Maui Freeway, and it's beautiful. It's warm. They can smell the mangoes or guavas or whatever on the breeze, and there's lights on there. It's beautiful. We get to the place we're staying, and it's gorgeous. We go to bed, having the most, and she's like welling up. She's like, I never dreamed I'd ever be here. It's amazing. I
Yes.
wake up the next morning and she's not in bed. And I'm like, where is she? I get out of bed. I walk out and she's on the balcony
Yeah.
and she's on the phone. And I go, you want a coffee? And she's, I said, what, what's up? She goes, I'm just booking a flight home. I hate it here. I can't believe I'm
What?
like, no, what the fuck? So I'm like, okay, damage limitation mode. I don't know what's going on, but I said, well, tell you what, let's go for a coffee. We'll get online. It's much easier to book a flight on a computer than it is on the phone.
Yeah.
We'll do that. Because I'm thinking, we'll go get in the car. We'll drive down the freeway. She'll see the waves. She'll see the palm trees. She'll
Beauty.
be like, you can't not love Maui. It's
Yeah.
great. So it'll be fine.
Yeah.
So we're driving down the freeway or driving down the coast road. And she's just getting more and more wound up. What? I can't believe I came here. It's so stupid. Da, 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 da. After about 5 minutes, I'm like, I'm going to help her book a flight. Are you fucking kidding me? It's like, who cannot in 3 weeks? Yeah, I'll get her on that plane. So I'm
Yeah.
like, I'm getting more and more annoyed at her. And then it suddenly hits me. I'm like, Jamie, where do you believe your experience is coming from? Like, she was having a horrible experience, and it seemed to her like her feelings were coming from Hawaii.
Right.
And she's like, I'm having a horrible experience, and it seems to me like my feelings are coming from
her.
her. Right?
Yep.
So I'm like, oh my God. And so immediately I wake up, and immediately my heart goes out to her. Right. I'm like, oh God, she's probably homesick, been on the road already for a week. Or it's a brand new place. She's probably just a bit insecure and doesn't realize it. Yeah. Like, she feels insecure and then she's looking around for something to blame it on. Right.
Yes.
So I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe I got tricked. Right. Literally, I didn't say a word. Like, I just saw it for myself. In less than a minute, she goes, oh, ignore me. I'm just being a silly bitch. Let's go and have coffee. It's beautiful here. Boom.
Whoa.
Done. And we're back in action, right? The key thing is, I didn't say a word, but she picked up on something, some shift in the vibe or whatever. Something shifted. And what I can tell you is that potential to see things differently is there in any moment, in any relationship.
And are you also saying, so there's the potential to wake up to that. Each of us has that potential.
Yeah.
I can wake up. And in that moment, you didn't even say anything and it already impacted her and the relationship. Is that something you see often?
Well, always to different degrees, because of course we're always in these calibrated feedback loops with other people. So other people pick up on the vibe we're in. I've seen countless examples of it in different contexts. So for instance, one of the ways I like working with clients is they'll come and spend like 3 days with me, one-on-one, going deep into this. I'm working with this guy, this is a few years ago, who he was stressed out of his mind because reasons. So, and he was a father of a young child and had this business he'd been running a startup he'd been running for 3 years, but he was all over the place. He was working like 16-hour days, 7 days a week. So he hires me to help him manage his stress, quote unquote. So we get together. First morning, I said, okay, I drew a thing on the chart, on the whiteboard. And I said, tell me your theory of stress. Where's your stress coming from? So he's like, the banks, my family, my staff, they never do what they're not as, they don't take initiative, the competition, the legal system.
All external.
Like literally 20 or 30 things. He's like, that's the cause of his stress. I said, okay, would you like to hear my theory of stress? He's like, yeah. I said, 100% of your stress is coming from thought in the moment. 0% is coming from anywhere else.
Wow.
It's 100% coming from inside.
Yeah.
He goes, I'll need to think about that. So he goes for lunch.
Yeah.
Pauses for lunch, comes back 2 hours later, puts a big X through his list. He just goes, I get it. What are we going to do with the rest of the 3 days?
Yeah.
Now, here's the interesting thing. So we spent the rest of the 3 days going a bit deeper. I check in with him the next week. I said, how's it going? He said, it's amazing. He said, I came back to work and it's like my staff had been on a training course while I'd been away. They're way more responsive. They take initiative. They're thoughtful. They don't keep asking me. Well, what his staff were doing, they would come into his office to ask him a question, but they would pick up on how stressed he was.
Yes.
And then they would ask the question, but they didn't listen to his answer properly. Right. So then they'd have to come back and ask again. And they were scared of screwing up because he'd get mad at them and all that sort of stuff. When he settled down, they settled down. Yeah. And this is well known. There's a Harvard Business Review study called, I can't remember, but on state of mind. These guys, these three researchers interviewed like 750 executives. Yeah. And they gave them a very simple thing. They gave them a list of emotions and asked, where do you spend most of your time? And where are you most productive at work? And the three states that they indicated as being the most productive were calm, happy, and energized. That's what got most of the stuff done. Yeah. The states that signaled the least productivity were frustrated, anxious, tired, stressed. Yeah. But here's the other interesting thing. The states they were in got picked up by their teams and their staff. Right. So if they were leading from frustrated, anxious, tired, and stressed, their teams got frustrated, anxious, tired, and stressed. If they were leading from calm, happy, energized, their teams became calm, happy, and energized.
And can we make the leap also to say in romantic relationships, right, where sometimes we're leading, sometimes we're following, but whatever state we are in, and I've seen this too, where sometimes I'll say something to my partner and the tone of stress gets conveyed and then he feels whatever he goes into. There's some kind of shame. There's some kind of not feeling good. And then that starts his spiral. And I've seen it with my kid too, right? All of the differences that can create.
Yeah. And the game changer is to see where that's coming from. I got in an argument with my girlfriend the other day. Well, I say argument. She's extremely feminine, very present, emotions and everything. I'm a bit like a autistic robot to some degree. So what sometimes happens is I'll make some bull in a china shop move. She responds. She's being totally unreasonable and just doesn't get it and all that sort of stuff. Then I go
from your estimation, she's being totally unreasonable.
Then I go away and I have some time to reflect, and then I'm like, oh fuck, I can't believe it. I'm so sorry, baby. Right? Like, because that tends to be the move. Yeah. Just because when I'm in she just doesn't get it, all that stuff, I've clearly got my head up my ass. Now, that wouldn't be a problem, except when I've got my head up my ass, I also think I'm right. Yes. In fact, the feelings of certainty and righteous indignation, all that, are not a signal about how right I am. They're a signal about how far up my ass my head is. Those feelings are telling me about the quality of perceptual reality I'm in that moment. And
Yes.
so it's a warning system, but I'm taking it as a gold star affirmation of the quality of my perspective.
That is fascinating, right? Because it feels so strong and it's like there must be something so real here versus my head is farther up my ass.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Which was the same thing in Hawaii, by the way. While I was going, I'm going to help her book a flight. Are you kidding me? I'll have a great time once she's gone.
Yeah.
And that's all that feeling of righteousness and annoyance and that sort of thing. I thought it was telling me how right I was to be annoyed
Yeah.
and how wrong she was to be not enjoying herself and all that sort of thing. But it was actually telling me that I was off base.
Right. Okay. So, how do you support people in those moments of righteousness and feeling like I'm so right here
How
to release
when I'm
the
in it
grip?
or when they're in it?
Well, either one. How do you release? You can pop it because you can see it. You can see there's a different possibility for a mindset.
I can once I see it, but
Yeah.
until I see it, I'm as much of a liability as the next guy,
Okay.
right?
What would you
I
say to someone who has that experience of that right, wrong, I'm right, I'm righteous? How to let that go?
Okay, so the first thing is that my ability to get out of that, whether it's in a few minutes or a few seconds or a few
Yeah.
hours or a few
Yeah.
days, is entirely a function of my understanding of A, how experience is created, and
Mm-hmm.
B, who I really am. Like
Yeah.
that understanding means that I tend to pop out of it within minutes or
Yeah.
seconds or
Yeah.
maybe hours rather than days, weeks, or months.
Yeah.
And just to give you some context, before I stumbled across this understanding, which is like 17 years ago now, I would get into relationships and they would last weeks or maybe months. And then something would happen. There would be an argument. And I'd be like, what am I doing with this crazy bitch? I'm out of here. Boom. And I'd be on to the next one, right?
Yep.
Like,
Yep.
because I had no appreciation of what those signals were telling me.
Yes.
So the thing I've done that has supported me in developing some more flexibility in relation to that is learning about this understanding, learning about how
Yeah.
our experience is created and who we really are. And that's been a game changer in terms of relationships. How I support my clients in that is I teach them this stuff. I work with them and help them see how this is playing out in their own lives.
Yeah.
And often, one of the biggest things people report is the degree to which their relationships with loved ones
Have improved.
transformed as a
What I
result of it.
think is so fascinating, I just love how the world works or how I don't even know what it is that's working. I had an experience with my partner this week and we've been working through it. And I think we both have the capacity to recognize that neither one of us is right and neither one of us is wrong, but even to down to the like bull in the china shop, me having feelings, it's the same template, right? And I can feel in my own self the discomfort of sitting in this. It's almost like, and I'm curious what you have to say. I have to sit in limbo, knowing neither one of us is right, neither one of us is wrong. And I notice I'm still having a feeling about it, or there's still some hurt, there's still some pain. I'm not blaming him for it. I'm just noticing my own experience. So I think we're both clear, all right, we are going to get through this.
Mm-hmm.
But this one is not popping for me like it did for you. So I'm
Yeah.
curious about that just to support other couples too. And it's like, oh, I can see that, but sometimes I get stuck in it.
Well, the thing I've noticed is that there are two things. First of all, you can see through something and
Yeah.
know what the truth of the matter is, but still be left in the aftershock of it.
Yeah.
I think of it
Yeah.
like a bruise, right? Like you can get a punch in the arm and the main hurt of the punch is gone, but the bruise is still
The
there and
bruise is
it's
still there.
a little
Okay.
tender to the touch. And even though logically you may know, well, actually, no one's to blame and that sort of thing, you still might feel kind of a bit standoffish or
Yeah.
whatever it might
Yeah.
be. Because if you think of the feeling system as running on the physical substrate of the body, that's
Yeah.
got its own time frame for letting stuff go. So that's
Yeah.
one piece of it. But the other thing is, Shana, when I talked about what I realized about in the Hawaii situation, what I saw for myself, and then what my then girlfriend saw for herself, neither of those came from us knowing something intellectually.
Right.
It was an
Right.
insight, right? Like, and so I I feel very fortunate to know what I know about how the mind works and who we really are and that sort of thing. But if I'm caught up in an emotion about something or whatever, I'm not going to see it differently until I have an insight about it. And
Right. It can't
that's
just be an intellectual understanding.
no, and that's not really on my time scale. I don't get to decide. What I've noticed is the more time and energy I've spent looking into this understanding, in general, the time from initial hurt to liberating insight tends to get shorter. But there's still
Yes.
it's not down to me how soon I see something new, and it's not even down to my willingness how soon I see something new. Like to some degree,
That just kills
there's
me
a component
sometimes.
of grace in it. Yeah, I know, right? But then my preference is to realize everything immediately and to not have to wait around for anything and not have to have any patience or anything like that. But my preferences don't appear to be taken into account to the degree I'd like them to.
Nope. Agreed. Yeah. Beautiful. Okay. So as we're looking at relationships and the common relationship out there, I think, and this is why the divorce rate is so high and people are suffering so much, is it gets stagnant. People think the other person in their relationship is who they were yesterday. People have this sense of one person's right, another person's wrong. There isn't a sense of, you also mentioned, who we really are. Maybe we go into that a little bit. Like, what do you
Yeah.
see as who we really are?
Well, a couple of things. You might find this interesting. One of the great underappreciated psychology experiments is they looked at little children and put them in front of a mirror.
Yeah.
And then they would cover up the mirror and put a mark on the child's face and then uncover the mirror again. Up until about 18 months old, they're totally unreactive to the mark on their face because they don't identify that image in the mirror as themselves. They'll even go up to the mirror and look behind it to see the other kid, right?
Right.
And so it's only after about 18 months that they start to recognize that, oh, that image over there is in some way isomorphic to me,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Well, that's kind of interesting. So there's this guy called Sydney Banks, he was a Scottish welder, and he had a pretty profound set of insights into how the mind works and who we really are back in the early 70s.
Yeah.
And I've listened to a lot of his recordings over the years and that sort of thing, because he's really saw something that made a big difference to my life. And I heard him say on many occasions, he said, the ego is just an image of self-importance. And I would be like, what the fuck is he talking about? What does he mean by that? And then one day I suddenly realized it was like, oh, when we're around about 18 months old, we start to identify with that image that we see in the mirror, right? Yes. We not only identify with, like, if you think about it, Shana, if you go to the movies and you identify with a character on the screen, you'll duck if they're going to get bonked on the head.
Yes.
You'll wince if something, because it takes about 10 to 20 minutes to identify with a character on the screen in a movie, right? It doesn't take long.
Yeah.
If you can be that responsive and reactive to what's happening to a movie character on a screen after 20 minutes, what do you think happens when you've been staring at an image of self for decades? So what happens is that image of self from a distance, it's like from a meter away or whatever, a third person perspective, right? Like you're up until that point, your experience of yourself is from a first person perspective. You're who you are to yourself from 0 millimeters away.
Yeah.
Okay. That's the identity that you were born with.
Yes.
But for most people, most of the time, within a relatively short time of making that identification at 18 months, they're processing everything through this third person image of self, all their
Wow.
beliefs about what's possible for them and all that sort of thing. So when I'm working one to one with people, part of my job is to help them fall out of identification with that
Yeah.
third person image of self
Yeah.
and wake up to the truth of who they really are.
Yes.
First person experience of self.
Yeah.
And my assertion is, there's a guy called Teilhard de Chardin, and
Mm-hmm.
I bastardize his most famous quote by saying, "We're not human beings having a spiritual experience.
We're
We're one
spiritual beings.
spiritual, no, no, no,
Oh, one spiritual being.
one spiritual being having 8 billion human experiences.
Whoa. I haven't
Who you
heard
really
that part of it.
are, who you really are is that one spiritual being. Who you really
Wow.
are is consciousness itself." Now,
Yeah.
if who you really are is consciousness itself, which is my assertion, then nothing in this world of form can damage you. Nothing can harm you.
Yeah.
I was talking about this tonight with a group, actually. One of my clients, a woman called Mahima Shrestha, she was doing consulting for airlines and that sort of thing. And she happened to pick up my book in an airport. And she's reading it in the airport, didn't buy it, but was like, oh, yeah, saw something in it, but stayed with her. So she was Googling something that she'd read in the book, which
Yeah.
was, "You're living in the experience of the principle of thought taking form in the moment." So she Googled this, watched some videos and that sort of thing, and started to get interested in this stuff. Anyway, this was in 2015, and she lived in just outside Kathmandu, and there was a huge earthquake, killed like
Yes.
9,000 people, injured tens of thousands of people. And so she was in the earthquake, and she was absolutely terrified, as you or I would probably be.
Yeah.
And the initial earthquake had hit, but they were having aftershocks every 10 to 15 minutes. And
Yeah.
so it was like a terrifying experience. And then after an hour or so, she remembered what she'd been reading. She had a sudden insight. And what she realized was, oh, if you're living in the experience of the principle of thought in the moment, then you're as safe now as you've ever been.
Mm-hmm.
And she realized true identity in that moment.
Wow.
In that moment, in that earthquake, she fell out of identification with the third person image of self. Woke up to who she really is. Now so I'm interviewing her in front of my group about that experience. And someone asked her, said, "How did you know you're safe?" And she goes, "Oh, well, if you mean physically safe, I didn't."
Right.
But I mean, we never do. Like an airplane could come through the roof of this building right now. Like we never know that. She said, "But I knew that I was psychologically safe. I knew that who I really am couldn't be harmed by anything in this world. Our physical body can, so don't juggle chainsaws."
Right.
Or at least get good training if you're going to do that. But your true identity, who you really are, can't be harmed by anything or anyone.
Yeah, I've often thought about it and had this conversation with some of my clients, and it's stuck with them of like that there is a part of our hearts that can never be broken, is how I feel it.
Yeah, that's true.
The heart that we think of as part of that identity feels heartbreak all the time and upset, but then it feels like it's speaking to that similar place of that part that can't be harmed.
Very much so. And it is kind of interesting. Can I tell another story?
Yeah.
So years and years ago, probably 11, 12 years ago, I'm having coffee with one of my mentors. And I was talking about my then relationship, which was good in some ways, but not really satisfying in other ways, and just didn't feel like the right thing. Yeah. So I'm talking to her about it. And my mentor, Jan, said to me that someone had said, one of her friends had said to her once, "You can have whatever you want if you really want it." Now, I'd heard this many times in the personal development world, but how I'd always heard it, Shayna, was you can have whatever you want if you really want it. Like if you got a vein bulging out of your forehead because you want it so much.
You force it, you push it.
Yeah. But what I heard when Jan said it was, you can have whatever you want if that's what you really want, if that's what you actually want. What I suddenly saw in that moment was what I wanted, what I really wanted, was true love. And what I saw was that I had organized my relationship life around everything I didn't want. I
Oh,
didn't want to get my heart broken. I didn't want to get bored.
yeah.
I didn't want to make a mistake. I didn't want to have my freedom restricted. So I'd organized for all the things I didn't want to
Yeah.
avoid that. I
Yeah.
had that relationship, and I'd left out the one thing I did want, which
The
is
true
true
love.
love. This was an insight, right? I suddenly saw it, and all that other stuff just fell away. So I'm immediately like, okay, true love it is. And I was in a relationship with someone at the time. We'd been in a relationship for 5 years. It was a
Okay.
world record for me in the previous 5 or 6 years, or in the previous 10 years. Anyway, so I go, okay, I'm going to show up as being here for true love in that
Yes.
relationship. The wheels fell off within a few weeks.
Yeah.
It was like that relationship had been a perfect energetic match for everything I didn't want.
Right.
But when I oriented around what I did want, it was not the right place for me. So we ended up breaking up, and I ended up meeting the love of my life. And I've been with her ever since. And I feel like the luckiest man in the world, a life beyond my wildest dreams of what
Yeah.
was possible for me. I
Yeah.
didn't think that true love was even on the cards for me in any
Yes.
way. But it's meant being open to all those other things that I didn't want.
Yeah.
Like those are all now possibilities. The possibility of all those things I listed. I could totally get my heart broken. Totally.
Yes.
In
Right.
fact, I'm more available to getting my
To
heart
getting
broken
your
than
heart broken.
I've ever been. But I know that I'd be okay.
Hmm.
I, I don't mean I would like it,
You wouldn't
and
enjoy it
I
necessarily,
would,
but
I would go
yes.
full out to avoid it happening and that
Yeah.
sort of thing. But I know that I'd be okay because I know that who I really am can't be harmed by that.
Yes. Yes. I love this. And just to be clear, if you're listening and you're in a long-term relationship and you have something like this insight, sometimes it works amazingly to stay in a relationship and shift who you're being.
Right.
Like you said, oh my gosh, I want this different experience. You show up and realize how you can create it together. And other times, relationships do fall apart. And we realize, wow, we don't want the same things, or we aren't capable of creating the same things. I'm loving hearing your stories and the ways that so many things we think might not be possible, or ways that we focus, especially in this story, we focus on what we don't want instead of what we do want. I often talk about the opposite side of the coin, right? We can bring our complaints, or we can bring the desire or that sense of what we want that complaint is covering up. And it's a completely different experience to have a conversation about those.
And the funny thing is, Shayna, if you'd have asked me during that 5 year relationship, are you really getting what you want? I'd be like, yeah, like 98%. This is great. I've got all the
Really?
freedom I want. And I go, yeah, like the only thing that was missing was something I didn't even know I wanted, which was true
Wow.
love, right?
Interesting. That's fascinating.
So in lots of ways, it was
Yeah.
good, but I wasn't even consciously aware that I'd
That you
been
wanted something
organizing
different.
for what I didn't want. No,
Yeah.
I wasn't aware that I was organizing for what I didn't want. I didn't even see it until I saw that what I really wanted was true love. And it was in the light of that I saw what I'd been doing. I was like, oh, yeah.
Wow. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate your capacity to see deeper, 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 right? To illuminate what we do as human beings and who we truly are, and how we spin ourselves into these identifications and then project them onto our partners and then struggle and suffer, and how to unwind, how to unravel, how to know who we truly are, and how to navigate that together. Because I think it can be even more challenging when you have two people doing this versus you're doing this just in your own psyche. Yeah. Is there any last thing you want to leave listeners with before you tell them how to find you if you would like to be found?
Well, the other thing I'd say, I mentioned my girlfriend, the woman I'm with now. I'm very
Yeah.
happy to be with. She sees the truth of this understanding very deeply as well, probably more deeply than me. And I'm very, very fortunate to be with someone who gets this so deeply. So I don't want to come across like I'm taking all the credit for it, because she deserves it.
That's very kind and sweet and honest, right? To say it's not always just us and our own realization. When you get to do it with someone who can see it and show up with you, it also makes it easier for us to hold that.
It's true. And for anyone who's listening to this and is like, yeah, but my partner would never be interested in that. The other thing I've noticed is that of all the things I've learned over the years, this is the thing that has other people leaning in.
Uh-huh.
Right? When I was first exploring NLP and that sort of thing, my then partner was like, okay, just don't get any on me. whereas with this, because another one of my mentors once said, the feeling you're living in is all you get.
Yeah.
The experience you're living in is all you get. And so even if your partner's not interested in learning what you're learning, where you're coming from is going to be evident to them. The feeling that you're bringing into the relationship is going to be evident to them.
Yeah. Yeah. Beautiful. Thank you.
You're so welcome.
Where can people find more of you, and what do you want them to find?
If you go to jamiesmart.com, there's lots of free stuff on there and that sort of thing if you just want to explore this. My books are on Amazon and Audible, Clarity and Results. I've got podcasts, the Thriving Coaches podcast and the Get Clarity podcast. And at the moment, like, I see that these transformations that the world is going through because of technology and all this sort of stuff. So I'm just doing all kinds of stuff to help share this understanding with whoever's interested in it. So
amazing.
I've spent a lot of time teaching coaches and therapists and that sort of thing. And now I'm just wanting to go wide with it and share it with whoever's interested. So they can find all of that stuff in the usual places. And then on X and TikTok and that sort of thing, I'm at jamiesmart.com.
Awesome.
That's my handle.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thanks for having me. It's lovely to see you again, Shayna.
You too. I'm so glad you joined us for today's episode of Practicing Love. I hope you enjoyed our conversation and gained insight into yourself and your current and past relationships and inspiration for what's possible. If you like what you heard, I'd be so grateful for you to subscribe and write a quick review to help people find us. If you'd like more support in your love life, be sure to get your free copy of my best-selling book, Honest Sex, at shanajamescoaching.com/free. That's shanajamescoaching.com/free. And we'll see you next time.